The first time a person sits and watches Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, the last thing they'll often take notice of is the sound in the film. Occupied with stunning visuals, sound tends to take a backseat to the interest of the viewer. Kubrick himself labels 2001 a visual experience, and oftentimes, unless the audience is intently concentrated on listening, 2001 will come across as a quiet and oftentimes soundless movie. This lack of noticeable sound, alongside the use of music, reinforces and promotes the visuals where you watch, not listen to what happens. According to our book, Looking at Movies, sound can be described as talking, laughing, singing, music, and the effects of objects and settings, which can be as expressive as any of the other narrative and stylistic elements of cinematic form. In the Dawn of Man sequence, where the man-apes are scavenging across the plains of Earth millions of years ago, the sound of nature makes itself known before the first man-ape appears. Ambient noises of insects, birds, and sweeping winds reflect a natural place, unlike later on where the ambient noises reflect an artificial place. While the ambient noise is constant throughout the sequence, there are moments where Kubrick's sudden use of a loud sound makes you take notice. In the Dawn of Man sequence, there are two major sounds that will do this. The first loud sound is the leopard attacking the man-ape. As the leopard attacks early man, Kubrick wants to show us how weak early man truly is. The loud growl in the man's ape yelping as he's attacked shows this in a very dominant fashion. The uses of these sudden loud sounds allows us to take notice of what's happening, more so than if they didn't have the sudden shift in loudness and audibility. Kubrick again shows the man-ape's fear of the leopard as they are trying to sleep at night. As Moonwatcher and his comrades sleep, we hear a constant growling of the leopard. This tells us the leopard is always on their mind and is something they fear due to their weakness. The other loud sound of this sequence is this yelling and growling of the man-apes as they fight over the water hole. Again, Kubrick draws in our attention into the scene and makes us take notice. One group of 8 men becomes superior for discovering how to use tools, which is a major part of this story. Once the assumed leader of the opposing group is killed, Moonwatcher gives out one final yell, perhaps a call to future descendants who will benefit of his discovery, and tosses his bone into the air. 2001 A Space Odyssey is arguably the first film to use sound design in the way that we understand it today. Although the term itself would not be coined for another 11 years in relation to Walter Murch's work on Apocalypse Now, and perhaps is nearer to the preceding term of sound montage. The overall vision of the sound and music as it combines with the visuals is none of the less recognizable as sound design. The film radically redefined the way that audiences and critics alike understood the interaction between image and music and opened the door for the possibility that the whole soundscape, dialogue, effects, music, could do the same on a grander scale. In many ways, the indulgence and decadence of the soundscape prepares audiences for the innovation and experimentation of the next decade. At the time of its release in 1968, 2001 A Space Odyssey was polarizing amongst critics and audiences, but it has since earned high status as one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. In fact, George Lucas himself remarked in 1977, Stanley Kubrick made the ultimate science fiction movie. It is going to be very hard for someone to come along and make a better movie as far as I'm concerned.